you know, in mixed martial arts, sometimes it's like in science. Sometimes you can make a mistake. You know, every human can make a mistakes. You know, there's certain sport or a certain situation that if there's a mistake made, you're that's it exactly. Sometimes it's the case in MMA, but sometimes you're able to redeem yourself. And if you look the fight with BJ Penn one that I had, which was probably one of the most competitive fight, and it was probably the fight that I got the most damage, and I was messed up. It took me 3 days, like 2-3 days, to recuperate from that fight. I was really damaged. And my first fight versus my second fight, I made a lot of adjustment because I have learned from my first fight. And also I had a guy, one thing people don't know, like they talk about fighters having secret weapons. See, for me, my secret weapons was not like some is that they use like certain, like different things. For me, it was knowledge. I had a guy in Montreal, he was measuring frames. He's not a scientist, he's a friend of Ferras and I. And what he does, he watch fight and he measure frames. The way he does it is when you watch a fight and one of the guy throw a punch, he cut the picture by frame, the video by frame. Clack, 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 clack. So he's able to see which fighter has better reaction time than others. And BJ Penn, he found out that BJ Penn, of all the UFC roster at the time when he was in his prime, he had probably the best reaction time of all. According to him, Lyoto Machida was the second one, but BJ Penn was the first one. So I knew that if I would try to go first, because I always been the fastest guy normally when I fight someone. But when I fought BJ Penn, I tried to go first, and he was always able to, like, I was never able to touch him with my jab, and he came back with the counter punch. However, because of what he told me, I knew that BJ Penn has a very fast reaction time, but had a very poor reset time. To him, the way he described it to me is like your nervous system is like a muscle. BJ Penn was so fast, but he's like more like a sprinter. So what I did the second fight, when I fought BJ Penn, I made him flinch. Like I fake a lot. So I make him react and flinch. So all that reaction time that he used to flinch was not used properly to avoid my punches. So I load up his nervous system with a lot of information and fake, and to make him flinch and pretending I was kicking and wrestling. So he got overwhelmed and he got tired very, very fast. So that's how I beat him. People sometimes they don't know really what's the strategy behind the thing. They only see the physical part. But when you fight someone, if I fight you, I look at you in the eyes. There's a lot of things that going on between you and I. I can look down here, bam, jab you in the face. The audience will not see these little details, but you will see it. And that's what it makes the magic during a fight. The relation that you have with your opponent, you know, like the mental game, what you make him believe. Those little things, I use a lot of those. If you talk to a lot of my opponent, they'll tell you, like, I use a lot of these little things, you know, like I look down at banner, I go up, or I'm pretending I want to attack you, so I'm make you flinch. But in reality, I'm just doing this because I want to rest, I want to recuperate, and I'm tired.
How much is, people talk about that with poker, for example. How much is the value of this? So like some people argue that poker is more about the betting. It's just the money. It's just how much you bet and so on. So that would be more like the analogy there with fighting would be just strictly the physical movement of your body. And then a lot of people argue that there's a lot here in the way you look, in the little movements in the face. So do you think you're communicating with your opponent when you look at them?
There's no way to know for sure 100%, and I'm by no means psychic, nothing like that, and I don't believe in that at all. The only thing is I know through looking through the eyes of my opponent when he's afraid and when he gives up on me.
Yeah.
I've been accused very often in my career to not take enough risk, to not finish my opponent. But the reason why I didn't finish my opponent is because I saw in his eyes that he gave up. He gave me the fight, and I'm winning the fight. So it's not up to me. It's not to me to make it, to try to sacrifice myself, trying to finish him. Perhaps if I do that, I will open up for him to to capitalize on my mistake, it's up to him to make a risk. So people sometimes they don't understand that it's the art of fighting, my friend, like if I'm winning the fight, like in hockey and ice hockey, if you're winning the game and it's the third period, it's at the end of the third period, you're not going to take out your goaltender trying to score another goal, because winning 5-3 or 5-4 is the same thing. Same thing in MMA. We make a living out of this. And sometimes it's, as sad as bad as it can be, you want to save yourself for another day. You want to minimize the damage. But if he knows he's losing the fight, it's up to him to take the risk. It's not up to me. So I'm a good counter fighter. I use a lot of my attack or counter strike or reactive takedown or proactive takedown. That's my specialty. So I'm not gonna. I have no desire to sacrifice myself trying to finish my opponent if he want to. If perhaps I might give him the opportunity to capitalize on me. It's not smart to do that. And very often when I fight someone, I can read him. I see the fear in his eyes. Now I'm like, I got you now. He's very desperate. Doesn't mean I have to put my guard down, because he's gonna be desperate. But I know I'm beating you. And I know I'm beating you. I'm just gonna do what I need. If I have a chance, of course I'll knock him out. But I'm not gonna try to sacrifice myself to knock you out. And if you do that, maybe one day you'll make a mistake and you'll get dropped, and you'll tell yourself, like, shoot, I just got brain damage. Maybe I'm never gonna come back the same. Maybe I ruined my career, or it's a very serious game that we're playing. It's very dangerous.
In the face of that risk, I mean, Mike Tyson talked about, when the opponent looks away, he knows he's got him, right? That he's broken. For a person like me who has trouble making eye contact with people, there's truth to that. I mean, there's truth to that. That there's an animal nature to us looking away. I mean, you could see that, the way the body language, the way the eyes move between two animals going at it in the wild, when like two lions fight or two whatever fight. There's a certain beta move when you've been defeated.
Yes, or one thing when I know that when it happened, one of the sign is when I just like make a feint and the guy flinch like crazy. That's mean he's really scared of me. It's a little bit like you're doing this, that guy flinch a little bit, or you're doing this, he's flinch like, oh, that's mean you hurt him, and he doesn't want to get hurt again. So he's really trying to run away and not winning the fight anymore, but not losing. So sort of surviving the 5 round. And it's hard to finish a guy who doesn't want to fight. A guy who's not fighting anymore to win, and is fighting to not lose. And the proof of that, if you don't believe me, just look the reign of all the greatest champion in UFC. I don't care who they are, John Jones or like, you could clearly see that in the beginning of their reign, they could finish a lot of their opponents. The same as me. In the beginning, I was finishing a lot of my opponents. But there's a time that the entire UFC roster is studying you, and they found ways to, perhaps not beating you, but they found a way to navigate through the fight in a way that they minimize the damage. You know what I mean? So it's a big difference between fighting to win and fighting to not lose.